And what would the summer movie season be without a really solid new horror movie? So The Conjuring 2 is obviously the sequel to The Conjuring. I never saw The Conjuring. I've only really gotten into horror movies in the last couple years, and that was just right before I started really watching them. I am going to check it out at some point though. But this movie is actually set in England. There's a family, they're kind of down on their luck, and their house is being terrorized by this demon. And so they call the husband and the wife from the first movie, who are like ghost extractors now, and they fly out to England to help this family. So basically, if the new Ghostbusters sucks, then we have this Ghostbusters movie. And I gotta say, modern horror movies, they are really hit or miss. There's been some really cool ones in the last couple years, but most of the time they're not that good. Conjuring 2 is one of the better ones. It's one of the best horror movies I've seen in the last couple years. Because it's so awesome that it doesn't rely on all these jump scares. It relies on like shadows and camera angles and eye tricks. There's a lot of shadows and darkness in this movie, and then your mind starts to fill in those gaps, and that's a really efficient way of doing it, because that kind of stuff sticks with you better than jump scares would. Because jumping to a jump scare is just a reflex. Anyone jumps to jump scares. And you don't have to jump for something to scare you. Sometimes something scary can just be something that really unsettles you, makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up, and that's the kind of slow horror suspense building that The Conjuring 2 does really well. Because this movie also feels very real. Like, look at the Poltergeist remake that came out last year. The end of it just turned into this big CGI monstrosity mess. And granted, the first Poltergeist had stuff like that, but it wasn't to that degree. But with this movie, the hauntings feel palpable and they feel real. I mean, you hear all the time these horror movies are, oh, they're based off a true story. There's one scene in the movie where the demon possesses this little girl, and there's a bunch of reporters over, and they're trying to talk to the demon. And in the credits of the movie, you hear the tapes, like the actual tapes from the 70s of when this event took place. Who knows, these could be fake, but all I know is when I got home, all I could hear when I was walking down my dark hallway was, "My name is Bill Wilkins, I'm 72 years old." Yeah, I didn't sleep much that night. Notice how I'm filming this in the daytime, because this was an effective horror movie. Now, as for cons with the movie, I feel like the setup took a little too long. You have the British family, you also have the family from the first movie, and they both have their own story arcs that they need to set up, and both reach really satisfying resolutions at the end. And so you need that time to build that stuff up, but I feel like it could have been done a little bit quicker. This movie is about 2 hours and 10 minutes. It's a little long for a horror movie, but I feel like it was well warranted. Maybe shrink it down by like 5 to 10 minutes, but especially when you get to know the family from London and they're discovering this paranormal stuff happening in their house, it is just non-stop suspense and scares through like the first half of the movie. Then there's some twists and turns with the plot of this movie, because the girl, the main daughter that the paranormal thing is terrorizing, the authorities and the ghost busting crew, they're not really sure if they can trust this girl. Like, they're not sure if she's just making it all up for attention or if she's actually demon possessed. And that's another thing. The kids in this movie did a really good job. Especially the main girl, if she sucked, this whole movie would have just pummeled. But she was great, she was awesome, and she carried the majority of this movie. Going back to the whole twists and turns thing, I feel like some of that could have been shortened just a little bit. I do like how this movie takes its time though. Get the crew from the first movie, you give them enough time to get to know this family, they actually feel like they're friends. It's not just like, hey, heard you got some ghosts. I ain't afraid of no ghosts. No, they give them time to get situated, and Vera Farmiga and her husband are also terrified of this ghost. They're not just super fearless people. It just made all the characters feel more relatable and more human. Guys, The Conjuring 2 is horror done right. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I know it made some pretty solid cash over its opening weekend. The scares take their time, they build suspense, and they stick with you. They're not jump scares. So check it out if you haven't yet, and thanks so much for watching this video. If you liked it, you can click subscribe, check out some of my other stuff, and I'll catch you guys next time.